texted me yesterday,
Oh, for lunch?
no,
Oh.
4:30,
For what?
saying, are you available for a phone call? So I texted him right back and I said, yeah, I'm sitting at my desk reading my extension.
Never heard from him?
He just texted me, saying, are you still available for a phone call? No.
Yeah, Windows closed.
But yeah, but you and I were up here, I said, we'll drive by and pick you up for lunch another day. He went, I was like, yeah.
Good. How was your speech?
It was good.
How was that?
I said I should have returned back. I couldn't text, I couldn't return it. Get back to him right at the same time, so I just looked at it.
Whatever it's worth, you didn't bring
Yeah,
anything.
still good.
And I haven't gone for it.
Just saw this.
Can't argue with that. Yeah, I understand. And then me.
Good to see you.
Mike, good seeing you, man. You got a different haircut. That looks
Yeah,
good on
see,
you.
my daughter's a hairstylist, she said, Dad, we gotta do something with you. So-
Really?
So she redid me, yeah, she's.
Wow, that's
And I
very
can't, and
cool.
I can't see it, so if she wants to play, it's like, oh, have a great time, that's all good for me.
My happiest day would be if my wife would just let me shave it all off, then I don't have to
This would be
worry.
my look too.
Yeah, I mean, that's just all good. I'm Roger Glick. I've heard lots of good things about you. It's a pleasure to get to meet you. The myth is always good then, you know? Oh, okay, all right, very good. I'm excited about the IMT. That sounds like a good thing, and I appreciate all you've done in that.
I think it's gonna be good, it's good for the region.
Yeah, I was gonna
I
say.
really wanna get region 4 too, but we'll use some time. Because actually, I think the need, the further south you go, the need gets even bigger.
I think that's right.
So maybe we'll get there,
Resources
you
are
know,
less.
yeah, so maybe we'll get there. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Feels us from the back.
It's always been my seat of choice, so. So we couldn't do that, we couldn't bend the letters of the university relations.
Yeah, because that's so difficult to read.
I know. It's just it's such a.
I'd never heard what was wrong with this.
Yeah. I don't. Was there anything?
I don't know. I was never told.
The only thing you adulterated you put the thing underneath, but they've had that for forever.
Yeah, I mean that's our patch. I don't intend to change it. I'll have a new logo, but I'm not changing our patch.
I think we'll let that call go to voicemail. You guys ready?
Yep, let's do it.
All set? We ready to go? Okay. All right. All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mike Mulhare. I'm the emergency manager for Virginia Tech, and I'll let the gentlemen introduce themselves.
Good morning. My name's Kevin Faust, and I'm the Chief of Police and Director of Security at Virginia Tech.
And I'm Steve Luger. I'm the Chief of Police and the Senior Director of Security for Carilion Clinic.
Okay, and our presentation today is really safety, security, preparedness, and really a lot about individual safety, security, and preparedness. So we'll get started. So the first thing to talk a little bit about is emergency management, and it's very obvious what gentlemen to my right do, sometimes not quite so obvious what emergency managers do. But within the higher education setting, we've got really three functions that we want to do. We really want to build, sustain, and improve our culture of preparedness at Virginia Tech. The first thing we want to work on is university resiliency. What do we can do to make sure we have the right plans in place so if something happens, we can continue our operation and our mission? The other piece is departmental readiness, to make sure that our departments have the plans they need, have the resources in place, so if something should occur that can be addressed. Because if an emergency happens, it's not likely to originate in my office or the chief's office. It's going to happen somewhere out on the campus. And the third area, and probably the most important area, and really what we're going to talk about today, is individual preparedness. What information can we provide you that should an emergency happen, that you are best prepared to address that emergency with the most positive outcome?
And the Virginia Tech Police Department, if you ever come down to the main campus, we are the police department on the campus. We are real police. I still get that question a lot, especially sometimes from staff and faculty that have been at Tech for a long time. But we are sworn law enforcement here in the Commonwealth of Virginia, just like our brothers and sisters here at Carilion. We go to the same training academy as our folks in Blacksburg and Christiansburg and so forth. We're 24/7. We have about 52 sworn officers on campus. So if you're ever down on campus and you see us either riding our bikes or driving around or walking across campus, please stop and say hello. We're very friendly folks.
As Kevin said, Carilion Police Department, we are a private police department that we are recognized by the Commonwealth of Virginia through code. Presently, we have right at 40 police officers assigned, along with additional 30 security officers. You will see us on campus here in this building all the time. Anytime you see one of our police officers, they'll be dressed like I am with Navy, and then they're armed police officers. If you see the light blue and the Navy pants, they're security officers. Our security officers are a supplement for our people. They help the officers as well as they're another set of eyes. They have radio contact with our dispatch center. We do have a dispatch center in Roanoke Memorial Hospital. We're there 24/7, 365. We have a police officer assigned in this building, again, 24/7, 365. We're always here for you. The E2 campus, I know you, as a Virginia Tech if you're associated with Virginia Tech, you have the option to go on their site and have your emergency notification system from Virginia Tech. We encourage everyone that's on the campus here in Roanoke to also register in the E2 campus. It's our emergency notification system that things go out such as weather-related incidents, school closings, building closings, down to if there's a problem in traffic in downtown area, you'll get that. Anything that has any effect on your security whatsoever, even if it didn't occur directly on our campus, if it's close by and around in the city, that will also come across the E2 campuses in a notification. And you can select how you want it. You can have it come to your phone. You can have it come to your computer. You can have it come to all of those. So that's up to you, and it's all free. Free is a good word. It's all free. Just register, and you can have that information available to you.
Sure. And I'd just like to echo that as well. If you're on this campus, you want the system that it's used to work on this campus, the E2 campus. But you can certainly also subscribe to Virginia Tech VT alerts. And again, that actually is a regional system for our regional campuses, and certainly the Blacksburg campus. And when we talk about VT alerts, we like to say if we send a VT alert, not only do we mean it, but we really mean it. So we want you to pay attention to that. We don't use it for bake sales or sporting events. You won't get the game results from Saturday's game on that. It's really just used for VT alerts.
And we like to keep this presentation lighthearted, so who sees the joke up here on the screen? I guess it's not really a joke, but who sees something interesting up here on the screen?
Pop culture reference.
Yes, pop culture reference. Well, I won't keep you in suspense. Jenny Song, the number 8675309, Tommy Two Tones. Yeah, now don't feel bad if you didn't see that, because Mike and I have been doing this presentation together for, what, 4 years now? And I only saw that 2 months ago. So there you go. That's how observant I can be.
So if we send the VT alerts, it's going to have 3 pieces to the message: what happened, where it happened, and what action we want you to take. And this is how we use VT alerts. It's a multi-channel system, and we do that for several reasons. One, in case we have a failure of one channel, the message still goes out. And we've also learned that our community has different preferences and how they receive messages. And we also encourage you to receive messages by again, multiple channels. Because even if the system's working as well as to be expected, and we're about 99% efficient, we have 50,000 members, subscribers. So that means 500 did not get that message if we're at 99%. So the other thing that we want you to think about is this is mass communications. So if you get a VT alerts, share it with those that are around you as well to make sure everybody gets the message. On campus, if you're on the main campus, we do also have sirens and public address system to augment our VT alerts. And if the sirens go off, we really want you to get inside, and this is only for the Blacksburg campus, get inside, seek additional information, look for further information through an alert. One thing we have is we have an app called LiveSafe, Virginia Tech LiveSafe, and this is an app that we worked with the manufacturer, the company LiveSafe, to develop. One of the principals in LiveSafe is actually one of our April 16th survivors, Christine Anderson. And one of the reasons we went with this app is they allowed us to customize it, because not only does it provide a way to two-way communicate with our dispatch, but it also provides information on what to do in emergency, really just-in-time information. And we think this is really important. So if you don't remember everything we talked about today, or if you haven't spent hours digesting every piece of information on our websites, that what to do in emergency information can be right on your phone. So we really strongly encourage you to download the LiveSafe app, the Virginia Tech version.
And if you come down to the Blacksburg campus, it's a great two-way communication device between yourselves and the police department. It's a free app. It doesn't cost you anything. And so if you want to download it, it has some great information on it. But it's a two-way communication device between yourselves and the Virginia Tech Police Department when you're down on campus. Now, I would caution that don't use this in substitute of 911. If you're down there and you have an actual emergency, or really anywhere, 911 is always your best bet. Because in an actual emergency, our dispatchers are going to handle those phone calls first. They'll get the LiveSafe eventually. But if you're in an actual emergency, 911 is always the best way to go. But again, it's a great two-way communication device. You can send us tips, messages, pictures, video. You can do it anonymously. Probably the best use of LiveSafe I've seen thus far last semester. We had a young lady in a class in McBride Hall A gentleman came in, sat down in the class. She had never seen him there before. He was a little bit older. He was a bit disheveled. So she became concerned, and rather than run out of the room or take out her phone and dial 911 and make a phone call, she just took her phone out and held it down below her desk and sent us a real quick LiveSafe message. We had an officer there in a matter of moments to check him out. Turned out he was legitimate. He was supposed to be in the class, so he was okay. He had just never been coming to class until then. But it's a great use of a way you can communicate between yourselves and the police department. Also, it has a map on here for the Blacksburg campus that shows the location of every outdoor emergency phone. You'll see these towers around campus with the blue light on it. You have them here on this campus as well. It's the same thing. You push that button, you're going to be connected immediately to either a dispatcher in Steve's shop, or if you're down on our campus, a dispatcher in our shop. So it has that map on it as well to show you all those blue light phones locations in Blacksburg. And then this Safe Walk is kind of a cool thing. If you download LiveSafe and a friend downloads it and you friend each other somehow on LiveSafe, if you're out somewhere late at night and you don't feel comfortable walking from point to point, a couple swipes on the screen and your friend will get an email saying, hey, I'm walking from here to here, follow me. And they can pull up a map on their screen that shows the 2 dots, and it'll show those dots coming together. So if you're out and it's a 5-minute walk and 20 minutes later those 2 dots still haven't gotten together, we hope at that point your friend is making some phone calls so we can check on your safety.
One of the other features of the app is it has all the building locations on the Blacksburg campus. So if you're not familiar with the campus and you find yourself there, you can actually use it as a navigation tool. But really the emergency preparedness piece of that is if we send a VT alert and says that there's an issue in Squires Student Center and you don't know where Squires Student Center is, if you call up that building, now it'll show you, it'll put a pin where Squires is, but it'll also put a pin where you are. And you can actually see yourself moving and watch yourself navigate and move away from where the issue may be. So again, we do encourage you to download it. It's free, but if you do download it, make sure you get the Virginia Tech version. And this is kind of what those slides look like. So that's the emergency quick reference page and what's on that, how to connect with the Virginia Tech Police Department, the maps of the blue lights. This is the Safe Walk feature, and again, it's very easy to use. It's just a couple of buttons. And then again, all the buildings on campus are there as well. So the next thing we're going to talk about, this is really the important phase. This is really the meat of the presentation here. We're going to talk about three important items. One is secure in place, and what does secure in place mean? The other is shelter in place, and what's the difference in that? Virginia Tech, we use the term secure in place rather than lockdown because it's actually more descriptive of what we want you to do. Again, we'll talk about the main campus just for a second. There's over 250 major buildings on that campus. There's 18 roads and entrances. It's really not physically possible to lock the campus down. So we talk about secure in place. And the last thing we'll talk a little bit about is evacuation and how it's important if there's an order or a fire alarm goes off and a requirement to evacuate, how important it is to heed that warning and that order.
So let's start with secure in place. First and foremost, a couple of things we want you to understand. Everything we're going to talk about today are just some general guidelines. They do not fit in every single circumstance. It's going to depend upon what is actually happening in that circumstance. But these are just things for you to have in the back of your mind should you be faced with these situations that you can draw from this training to make the best decisions for your own personal safety and security. Because neither Steve or his department here at Carilion, nor myself, my department at Blacksburg, nor Mike, the Office of Emergency Management at Blacksburg, we cannot guarantee your safety 100% of the time. I wish we could, but that's an impossible standard. I can't guarantee you're going to be safe 100% of the time. So the next best thing we all can do is to provide you with information that maybe you never have to use, we hope, but if you have it, you can draw upon that information should you find yourself in these situations. And this information just doesn't hold true for places like Carilion or at Virginia Tech. In your home or in another business or in another building in another city, some of these things may also be useful in that case. So let's talk about secure in place. If we were to send out an alert right now, we would be very specific, as Mike said, as to what we want you to do, what's happening, where it's happening, what we want you to do. So if it's a secure in place, it's going to tell you secure in place. And quite simply, all we want you to do if you're down on our campus or really anywhere and you get an alert like this, get inside if you're outside into the nearest unlocked building. Try to find an interior room inside that building that has an interior lock on the door. get in that room, lock the door, or find something you can barricade the door with if you can't lock it, and then just simply await further instructions. Because we're going to continue during an emergency to communicate with you as best we can so you can continue to make those decisions for yourselves. But that's simply all we want you to do. So if we sent out a secure in place right now, if we were down in Blacksburg, for example, and we sent out one right now and it said secure in place, again, we want you to get inside, find a room inside, lock the door. If I'm in charge in that room, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off all the lights. And if the room has windows to the outside and they have blinds, I'm going to draw those blinds. And I would ask everybody in the room with me to take out your mobile device and put it on silent. Now, I don't want you to turn it off because this is how we're going to continue to communicate with you. But what I'm trying to do is I want to make it look like this room is empty. So let's say if it's an active shooter type thing and an active shooter is in this building, I want to make it look like this room is empty so he or she will pass us by. They won't think there's somebody in here. Because it doesn't really make any sense if we're trying to make it seem like this is empty and we all have our ringtones going off at the same time. That person's going to know there's somebody in here. All right, and again, I'll wait further instructions. It's just as simple as that. Now, what if somebody wants to come in our secure area? All right, we get this question a lot, and I'm going to use, again, an active shooter type situation in this scenario. So let's say we have credible information on the Blacksburg campus that a female has been seen with a weapon, but we haven't been able to find that female yet. We'll send out the secure in place, female with a weapon, everybody gets in this room, and we all secure in place. The question we get is, well, what happens if it's a male who wants to enter that secure place? All right. First and foremost, you should never assume if we send you a message saying female with a weapon, you should never assume that it's only a female and there's only one weapon. We don't know yet. We're still working that situation. So you should never assume that nobody else is involved. So if it's a man at the door trying to get in, if I'm in charge, if we had a window in the door, and we have a lot of doors at Virginia Tech with windows in them, we don't have one here, but if we had a window with a door, I'm going to walk over to that window and I'm going to look out to his left and to his right. Why am I doing that? What am I looking for? Any thoughts, ideas? Yeah, exactly. I want to see, is he under some type of duress? Is that why he's trying to get into my secure space? So if I see a female out there holding a weapon pointed at him, in my line of work and in Steve's line of work, we call that a clue. I'm probably not going to open that door. And it really pains me to say that because we're all humans, we all want to do the right thing. But here's the reality, and here's how I look at it. If I open that door, more than one of us may be in danger. So I'd much rather that person out there be the only person in danger than maybe putting all of us in this room at danger by opening that door and letting that person in and having the gunman get in as well. Now, having said that, none of us up here are ever going to criticize you for any decision you make. All right, so if you are in that room and he's under some type of duress and you want to open the door and get him in, neither Steve, myself, nor Mike, we are never going to criticize you for that decision. We do not Monday morning quarterback, okay? Because we are not in this room with you. So we don't know the set of circumstances that you're faced with. All we can rely on is for you to make the best decision based on your own good common sense and your good judgment, all right? So if I look out that window and he's not under any type of duress, but he's carrying a computer case or a book bag, if I'm in charge, I'm going to tell him, leave that outside and I will let you in. Because again, you should never assume that it's only a female with a weapon and there's only one weapon. So how do I know he doesn't have something in that book bag by which he wants to do us harm? So I drop it out there and I will let you in. Well, I'm not leaving my book bag out here. I've got expensive things in it. Well, fine. Then go somewhere else. I am not opening this door. All right? This is a dictatorship in this room. It's not a democracy, and outside the door, you do not have a vote. All right? So go somewhere else. Now, if you're that person outside the door and you're the one carrying the book bag or the computer case, please leave it outside. We'll get it later. It'll be fine. Because we can guarantee you this. All right, there is nothing you will ever have in a computer case or a book bag or anything else that you're carrying that's more valuable than you. So leave it outside, we'll get it later, all will be well. All right? Now, if I'm still looking through that door and he's not under duress, he's dropping his book bag, if he's wearing an overcoat, if I'm in charge, I'm going to ask him to just open that thing up and turn around in a circle for me. right? Because I want to see, does he have anything hidden in a waistband area by which he wants to do us harm? So if I see something on his right side, I may say, hey, what do you have there? Show me that. Well, I'm not showing you this. Fine. Then go somewhere else. All right? This is a dictatorship, not a democracy. You don't get a vote. Go somewhere else. Now, to be clear, because the three of us always want to be very clear, we are not telling you to tell that person to take their clothes off. All right? I want to be clear about that. Just use your good common sense. Okay? Now let's talk a little bit about active shooter. And these are some very serious topics, some topics that sometimes people are not comfortable talking about, but I think it's important that we need to understand some of this information. And again, this is all very general stuff. It doesn't work in every single situation, but it's good information for you to have on your mind. So if we have an active shooter in this building right now and you cannot secure in place safely and properly, you may have some different options. And of course, your first option may be to run. I need to get out of this building as fast as I can. And if you have the opportunity to run, get out quickly, get out safely. We would ask, don't call 911 until you are outside somewhere safe and secure. That's the most important thing at that moment. So get safe and secure first, then call us on 911. We would much rather know that you are safe and secure when you're talking to us. Try to encourage other people to come with you, but if they don't want to leave with you, do not stop and have a debate. All right? Do not let them slow down your forward progress. Get out as fast as you can. Tell a first responder that you may see there are 4 more people up on the 3rd floor that didn't come with me. Whatever you need to do, but don't stop and have a debate with them. All right? Now here's the real hard part. Here's the real hard part. If you see people that are injured laying on the floor around you, I would encourage you to just pass them by. And that's hard to say, and that's hard concept to grasp. Because again, we're all humans, we all want to do the right thing. But understand, the longer it takes you to get out of that building, the chances of you also becoming a victim it's continuing to grow. Understand that there are people who are coming who are going to help these folks. So I would just pass them by. Now, having said that, again, I will stress, if you decide I'm going to stop and help these folks, none of the 3 of us, nor anybody in our department, we will never criticize you for that decision. All right? All we can ask is for you to make the best decision based on your own judgment, common sense, and what's in front of you. So if you want to stop and help those people, we will never criticize you for that decision. Just make the best decision you can. All right? So you can't secure in place, you can't run, you may have to hide. And that's usually in a common area that doesn't have a doorway, a break room, things like this. And if you have to hide, try to find something in that area that's physically bigger than you and something that is as solid as possible so that if rounds start coming out of a weapon, they're hitting it and they're not hitting you. But try to pick something to hide behind that isn't going to impede your ability to escape later should it present itself. But again, bigger than you, physically bigger than you, as solid as possible, but try not to get trapped if the opportunity presents itself to run. All right, here's the worst thing. You can't secure in place, you can't run, you can't hide. You may have to make a really awful, tough decision, and that is, I'm going to have to fight this person. This person is right here, right on me, right now, and it's either me or this person. And if this is what you have to do, I cannot stress enough, commit yourselves to that decision and act with extreme aggression. All right, do whatever you have to do. Improvise weapons, pick things up, yell, scream, hit, kick, punch, scratch, grab. I don't care what you have to do. Throw a stapler, whatever. But if you're going to have to fight, commit yourselves to that fight. Never, ever hesitate and never second guess anything you are about to do. And act with extreme aggression. And I can't stress this point enough. This should not be a fair fight. All right? You fight dirty. You do whatever you have to do to incapacitate that person, get to the point where now I can't escape and I'm going to get out of here. But if you're going to do it, commit to it, act with extreme aggression, and never hesitate and never second guess anything you are about to do, and fight as dirty as you can. It's as plain as that. Okay? So we get this question sometimes as well. We're secured in place. Well, what if law enforcement are the ones who are trying to come or are coming through our secure door. What happens then? And I want you to understand this from our perspective. All right, we do a lot of training in law enforcement with people around our area, and we train them on how to do things, but we don't spend enough time, in my opinion, talking to folks so they understand how we are trained and how we may be responding and reacting to a situation. So I want to go down that road for just a little bit. So if we're in a secure place and law enforcement's coming through the door, here's some things you might expect. And I'm going to use an actual case as an example. December 8th, 2011, we had an officer at Virginia Tech killed in the line of duty on campus that morning. Derek Krause was murdered by a student from another university. So we sent out the secure in place. We're searching for the gun person. We hadn't been able to find him, so people are securing in place. When something like that happens, our brothers and sisters in law enforcement from all over the area are coming to our campus, including Carilion. We had Carilion that day from the hospital down there. They came in as well. So we appreciate that help very much. But these are officers who aren't as familiar with our campus and certainly don't know people that work there. I mean, I work there every day, and I don't know everybody that works at Virginia Tech. But what happened was officers are coming in. We started to get additional 911 calls. And one of the calls we got went like this. It was a young lady. She said, "I'm alone in this building." The name of the building doesn't matter. But she said, "I'm alone in this building, and I hear gunshots upstairs." And that's all she could tell us. So I gather 10 to 15 of my close friends and associates together, and I say, "Ladies and gentlemen, here's what I know. All right, she's alone in this building. She hears gunshots. Go and handle this." And they went, and it came through a locked, secured door. The first person they encountered coming through that locked, secured door was a guy, all right, a man. Now, what was the intelligence they were given before they left? Female, alone, she hears gunshots, and here's a guy. All right, if you are that guy, here's what you might expect from us. Doesn't happen every single time, but this is how our training is. Federal, state, and local. I'm retired FBI, and I'll tell you, our training in the FBI was the same as it is at Virginia Tech. So federal, state, local, it's all the same. If you're that guy, first and foremost, weapons might, I stress might, be pointed at you. All right, try not to panic. Try not to panic, because our training is very specific. We do not put our fingers on the triggers of our weapons unless we are going to use them. Otherwise, your finger remains off the trigger on the trigger guard during the entire encounter, and your finger only goes on that trigger if you intend to use that weapon. So if weapons are pointed at you, their fingers will be off the trigger, but try not to panic. All right, I know it's difficult, but try not to. All right. At this point, you may hear words along the lines of, "Show me your hands. I want to see your hands." Because again, understand how we are trained in law enforcement. If you're going to hurt me, this is what you're going to use to hurt me. All right? You're not going to use your eyes to hurt me. You're not going to use your voice to hurt me. I don't care what you say to me. But if you are going to hurt me, this is likely what you're going to use to hurt me. So that's why I want to see these. And that's why I want to get these hands under control as quickly as possible. So please, if the kind officers ask to see your hands, please just show your hands. All right, just show your hands. This isn't the time to start a conversation along the lines of, "Well, don't you know who I am?" Because again, I can tell you in Blacksburg at Virginia Tech, no, we likely don't know who you are, but more importantly, what? Yeah, we don't care who you are. All right? I don't care if you're Dr. Sands, and I like this, Sands hands. I don't care if you're Dr. Sands. If I want to see Dr. Sands' hands, Dr. Sands needs to show me his hands, okay? I don't care who you are in that circumstance. So please, just show the kind officers your hands, all right? Now, at this point, you may be asked to get on the floor by the kind officers. All you need to do is get on the floor. And it's perfectly fine while you're getting on the floor. If you want to engage us in conversation and say, "Look, officer, I am following your lawful command, but if you're like me, I got bad knees. It's going to take me a minute. Oh, did you hear that crack? But I am getting on the floor. You can see I am doing exactly what you're telling me to do. I am getting on the floor." And that's fine. We don't mind if you engage us in that conversation. Because by law, we are only authorized to use whatever force is necessary to get you to comply with a lawful command. And if you're doing everything I am lawfully telling you to do, then I am not authorized to use any additional force. All right, so if you're getting down and you're saying, listen, I'm doing it, see, but I'm so hungover from last night, it's going to take me a while, but I'm doing it. That's cool. That's fine. Because if the kind officers ask you to get on the floor, you will get on the floor. All right, but I'd much rather you do it under your own power than the kind officers having to help you to the floor. All right? Now, at this point, you may find yourself handcuffed. Again, don't take it personally. We don't get our jollies out of handcuffing people. Those little keys are small and they're hard to work. It's a pain, believe me. But again, understand from our training, if you're going to hurt me, this is what you're going to use to do it. So the sooner I get these under control, not only the better it is for me, but the better it is for you as well. This way we all remain safe. Can you imagine if I want to see your hands and you put your hands in a pocket like this? How long do I have to wait to see what you're bringing out of your pocket, if anything? But how long do I have to wait? The courts have consistently ruled not very long, less than a second in most cases, because there's nothing in any law anywhere that says I have to get hurt first. All right? So you may find yourselves handcuffed. We'll unhandcuff you. We'll figure it all out at some point, but try not to take it personally, because we want to get control of those hands for our safety, but more importantly for yours. Okay?
You all want to hear a story?
Little bedtime story. We have time for a story? All right. Happened to me. Young FBI agent in a city far, far away in a galaxy long time ago. I'm out driving downtown and a call comes out over the radio. A bank has just been robbed. And I am literally right around the corner from this bank. All right, so I go pulling in and I come rushing into the bank. Now understand, in the FBI, we did not wear uniforms. All right, we wore suits. We looked like lawyers. And so here I am, I'm in the bank, I've got my spiffy FBI suit on, I have my weapon drawn, and I'm talking to the tellers behind the counter. I'm saying, what's happened? Is the bad guy still here? What can you tell me? Gathering the intelligence. Well, the next person through the door is a local uniformed police officer. Now, what does he know? This bank has just been robbed, and what does he see? He sees a man in a suit in the middle of the lobby with a gun in his hand. He probably figured I was a lawyer as well and thought, hey, 2 for 1, this is cool. So, from behind me, I hear the words, and I'm going to keep this G-rated because this is a family presentation. I hear the words, kindly drop that weapon and put your hands up in the air. It was a little more verbose than that. I think he said something about my parents were never married, but be that as it may, he invited me to drop my weapon and put my hands up. So I'm standing here. I hear this from behind me. I look over my shoulder very quickly to make sure it wasn't the bad guy. And ladies and gentlemen, I dropped my gun so fast and put my hands up so high, I was on my tiptoes and my fingers were totally spread apart. Okay? Can you imagine what it would have been like if I had looked and, well, don't you know how far around here do you think I would have gotten before he would have been authorized to take action? And quite frankly, I would have been pissed at him if he didn't, because that's the way we're trained. Okay? So, threw it down, had my hands up. He invited me to get on the floor. And I got on the floor so fast, I tore a hole in the knee of my spiffy FBI suit pants. I did something else in my pants too, but again, we're going to keep this G-rated. I'm not going to go down that road. But he ran over and he handcuffed me. He pulled me up to my feet, and I said, kind officer, if you reach inside that suit jacket, you will find my FBI credentials. Please feel free. It'll confirm who I am. If you wish, go to the phone over there, call the FBI office. They will confirm my identity. I did not give him the number because I wanted to make sure he found the number himself so he knew it wasn't a fake number. He took my creds out, he looked at them, confirmed who I was, and put them back in and said, all's fine. He unhandcuffed me and apologized profusely. And I was like, dude, it's cool, because we're both alive. He still sends me Christmas cards to this day. He's a great guy. But my point is, it happens. It happens, so don't take it personally, all right? And if you're in an active shooter situation and you encounter first responders while you're exiting the building, here's what I would ask you to do, all right? We are trained in these circumstances to do 3 things if we are the first ones responding to an active shooter. Our training is very simple. I've only got 3 missions. Get inside that building, find that threat, and stop it as fast as possible. And that is it. That is all I need to worry about. So if I'm running in the building and you're coming out, if you start yelling and screaming at me, now something's distracting me off to my side. And it's even worse if you have something in your hand and you're pointing at me while you're yelling and screaming. In my peripheral vision, what I hear is a commotion. Now I see somebody in my peripheral vision pointing something at me. So now I have to stop and come over here and handle this. So you have just stopped me from my 3 missions: getting inside, finding it, and stopping it. Okay, so please try not to scream and yell or talk to the officers as you're coming out and they are going in, and don't be pointing things at us, because again, you'll stop me from those 3 missions. And don't think poorly of us if you see us pass by people who are injured as well. Because again, understand, we know there are people coming behind us who are going to help these folks out. Yes, sir, please.
What if we are fleeing a scene and we have some information to impart to the officer, like the shooter's over there in that room?
Yeah, it's going to be on a case-by-case basis, and that's a real good question. What would your advice be, Steve? You're much
Well-
older gentleman than I.
Thank you.
I prefer experienced, more experienced.
Ah, very good.
But you're right, that is a good thing, and that kind of information can be relayed very quickly and without you even stopping. And that's what we would encourage you to do, because if you're fleeing, you got to remember, we don't know what the bad guy looks like, and we have no idea whether you're the bad guy, you've done your deed, and you're trying to sucker me into something. So you've got to understand, we're going to question you, but it's going to be the next person behind me outside, because we're always going to have a perimeter. The people that go in are trained to go in at least 2 people. You'll see them go in, the officers go in together. They will stay together. One, when I go in, if Kevin's moving in front, I've got his back. He's got at the front, and we will keep moving. If there's shots being fired, we'll know where we're going. If you say he's down the hall on the left, that's fine, but you just keep moving. Clear the scene. The whole thing is get you to safety and let us do what we got to do.
And you see on TV and stuff, and I will tell you from personal experience, it happens in real life when folks are inside and the police are directing them to come out, they have their hands on top of their heads, and your first thought is, oh my goodness, that's horrible. They've just been through this awful thing, and now they're being made to come out of a building with their hands on their head. Again, understand, we're not doing that for fun, but we're still trying to figure out who's involved, what's going on. The intelligence we're given is not always 100% accurate right away, because it's moving very quickly, and it's a very fluid situation. So I don't know exactly how many people with weapons are in that building. I don't know how many shooters there are. So that's why people are coming out with their hands on their head, because again, we want to be able to see these. We need to be able to control them in some fashion, because if you're going to hurt me, that's what you're going to use to do it. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, very good. All right. And again, understand, use your best judgment. Everything we're talking about here today doesn't necessarily hold true in every situation. Every situation is going to be unique. If you're down in Blacksburg and you're on our campus, Blacksburg Transit bus drivers get VT alerts. So if it's a secure in place and you're on campus on a bus, quite simply, you're going to go for a ride. All right. Their instructions are to close the bus doors, button it up, and leave campus to a predetermined location where they will let you off. You can ask to be let off along the way. They're supposed to ignore you. But again, they shut the doors, they secure the bus, and they leave. And if you're at the next stop, don't take it personally when they blow right by you, because they will not stop and pick up additional passengers. And they won't come back to campus until the all clear is given.
So talked a lot about secure in place, a little bit about shelter in place. Shelter in place is very typical to occur if there's a weather emergency. We've issued 2, maybe 3 shelter in places in the last 3 years I've been at Virginia Tech. They're all related to tornado warnings for the county. So if we do a shelter in place, we want you to get inside. We want you to get into an interior space, but we don't want you to lock the doors. We want to make sure other people as they arrive can get in very easily. One of the things to think about if we are shelter in place is you want to avoid areas that have large areas of glass, particularly if it's a weather emergency, because most injuries occur from flying debris. So you want to get into those smaller interior spaces. For instance, if you've been on the Blacksburg campus and you're in Burris Auditorium, Burris Auditorium has a large expansive roof. Not necessarily the best place to be in a tornado, but all the areas around that, all those little corridors are actually very good places to be. So you want to get in that secure place that has some structure to it that'll keep you safe. And again, in the VT alert, we're going to tell you what it is, where it is, and what we want you to do. So you'll know if, for instance, in a tornado warning, you'll know that it's a tornado. You'll know that we want you to shelter in place, and you can take appropriate action. So we're going to talk a little bit about fire and evacuation and why that's important. And what you see there is a demonstration that was done by Health and Safety a couple of years ago. It basically shows how fast the fire actually will move within a residence hall, and that's a typical residence hall, the materials in there. And really the important point, and what we want to take away from the video we're going to show you, is that fire doesn't act the way it acts on television. It moves much quicker, the smoke's much denser, and it's a much more serious and significant information when you find yourself in a fire. So this is the Station nightclub fire. It happened in 2003. And really what I want you to take away from this is just how quickly the fire moves, how little time you have actually to make good decisions. So it was about 10:30 at night. The main act was coming on stage. And what they did here is they used a pyrotechnic on the stage. And again, pay attention to the time and how quickly things happen here. So about 15 seconds in, you can already see smoke filling up in the nightclub. The band is still playing. They haven't even realized that this backstage is on fire yet. So it takes about 30 seconds before that to occur. Ironically, the reason we have this video is there was a news station there that evening doing a piece on nightclub safety. One of the things that's also happening here, and we're all very likely to do this, is everybody's trying to leave by the same entrance that they came in. So if you're in a building, know multiple ways to get out of that building, because that area that you came in may not be the best or the appropriate area to egress the building. You can see the first individuals, it's taken about a minute to get out. You see the smoke has also arrived at the front door at the same time. And again, this video is unedited, so it bounces around a little bit. So approximately 90 seconds in, you can see what the back of the nightclub looks like already. It's fully evolved. And you can see some of the smoke coming out through the front of the building now. We jumped ahead a little bit. We're about 4 minutes in. Fire resources are arriving on scene. They had a little trouble getting here because it was ice and the way the cars were parked. It took a couple of minutes to get right to the scene. So we're 4 minutes in. We've gone around to the back of the building. The building's fully evolved. The smoke is all the way down to the bottom of the floor. That smoke, and when we did the after action and the reconstruction, was estimated to be about 800 degrees. So we lost 100 people that night within less than 4 minutes. Another 150 were severely injured. So again, if you really didn't get out of that building in about 90 seconds, you either perished or you were injured. So again, the point of this is fire moves very quickly. Have a plan. Know the egresses in your building. Know more than one way to get out of your building. And if the fire alarms go off, pay attention to them. They're not really guidelines, with maybe one exception.
Yeah, there might be one time I would ignore a fire alarm, and that's during a secure-in-place situation. So if we were in a secure-in-place here and we had everything locked up and we're good to go, and the fire alarm went off, unless I have personal information of the fire, I'm feeling the door, it feels hot, I can see smoke, I can smell smoke, I can see flame, I'm probably going to stay in place. Because if there's an active shooter out there and he or she can't get in here to get us, what's their next best course of action? Is to get us to come to them. So they may pull the fire alarm to get us to leave. And we actually saw this a couple years ago down at the University of Central Florida. A man with a gun went into a residence hall wanting to kill students, and rather than waste his time going from room to room, he pulled the fire alarm and then went in the parking lot and waited for the students to come out to him. Now, fortunately, that incident ended without anybody getting hurt except him, but it does happen. So if we're secured in place and a fire alarm goes off, unless I have personal knowledge of the fire, I'm feeling the door, it feels hot, I can see smoke, or I can smell smoke, or I can see flame, I'm probably going to stay put. Because in our training, we are never, at the end of an active shooter situation in that building, we are never going to pull the fire alarm to get you to come out when it's all clear. That is not what we do. We are going to come into that building and we're going to conduct room-to-room searches. We're going to be looking for you, we're going to be looking for other potential victims, and we're going to be looking for other potential people with weapons. So again, I'm probably going to stay put.
Yeah, and also if you're in a building, don't use the fire alarm as a way of warning individuals or trying to attract first responder resources. That actually happened in the shooting that occurred at the Navy Yard. It's still unclear whether the shooter pulled the fire alarm or actually individuals within the building pulled the fire alarm, trying to let other people know that there was a problem in the building. At the time, the Navy did not have an alert notification system within that particular base within the Navy Yard. They've since done that. They've actually looked at some of the things we've done and incorporated those. So again, don't use that fire alarm as a way of communication.
If you have to report an accident or emergency anywhere, obviously 911 is the way to go. Steve, how do they do it here?
If you have a situation that's on the campus of Carilion, and you have an internal number, you can dial 77911. Our dispatch center will then send a police officer, one of our police officers, over. Anytime that if you're injured, if there's something else, in other words, you're just totally shook up because of the accident, and you dial 911, don't worry about it. It's going to go to Roanoke City Dispatch Center. We have a direct line that comes back. Anytime they get the call, they all automatically shoot it back to us. Comes in on our CAD system, computer-aided dispatch. It comes in on our CAD system. They have it, we have it, and both of us dispatch officers. So either one of those works fine in an emergency. If you just need us, it's 77911. Or if you're on your phone, cell phone, I would recommend you put 981-7911. 981-7911, and that comes directly to our dispatch center.
And again, we can't stress enough, if you accidentally dial 911 and get us, please stay on the line and tell us it was an accident. You're not going to get arrested. You're not going to have your picture taken. We're not going to make fun of you, publish your name anywhere. But what happens in our dispatch centers is when you dial 911, it pops up on a map on a screen, and it shows that dispatcher that this number made a 911 call from this location. And if you're not on the phone, you're not on the end of that line, they're going to try to call you back. And if they can't get a hold of you because you've gone to another call or it's going straight to your voicemail, we have to assume you are under an emergency. And we are going to be coming at a high rate of speed in vehicles with lights and sirens on busy streets here at Carilion, and especially on campus during class change when we have 5,000 students walking across the drill field doing what I call the zombie walk. They're all staring at their phone. Even in the crosswalks, I've seen a student actually walk through the crosswalk while the police car came up to the crosswalk, lights and sirens, stopped for him. He stopped and he looked at it. I half expected he was going to take a picture, a selfie with it. Whee! But at any rate, we'd rather not come at a high rate of speed if we don't have to, so just tell us it was an accident. It's going to be fine.
So a little bit of emergency preparedness. I talked about at the beginning about departmental readiness. So we have a building emergency action plans, and you have one here. Gary's your building emergency coordinator. And again, that's a place to go to get additional resources individually. If you want to know what's happening in your building, that's the place to go. One of the reasons we did this was our buildings, the way they were set up was every department had a plan. We have many buildings where we have multiple departments within them, and each department's plan was different. So we literally had people going up the staircase while other people were going down. So we wanted to coordinate at the building level. We want to make sure that should something occur in your building, that everybody's reacting in a similar manner. So again, that information is there for you.
Again, here and also down at Tech, we have the blue light emergency phones for your use. These things are just like making a 911 call in both locations. You push that button, you're going to hear a dispatcher say, 911, what's your emergency? If you accidentally bump into it and you push the button and you hear the voice, just tell them it was an accident so we don't have to come at a high rate of speed.
And also, we have the blue, if you'll notice in the parking garage, on every level at both ends, both elevator ends, we have blue lights, phones there also. And those, again, come straight into our dispatch center. And we have them also on the campus, as you see the crossing roads and such. We have them there. And they're all We monitor them constantly. We check them every 2 weeks. In other words, we go and push the button to make sure that they're operating correctly. So if by chance you ever did push it and just ask simply, hey, there's somebody hanging around, just like a 911 call, you don't have to be under attack. You don't have to see someone with a weapon that scares you to push that button. If you have an issue at all, if you see someone that's in the parking garage that's following you, or you think that's just not right, and gentlemen, not try to hurt your feelings, but women's intuition, don't ever think that's just a myth, because they have a really great intuition about how things are. If something doesn't look right, they feel it before we do. And the big thing is, if you see that, if you have that come up, push the button and just tell them, even if it's simply, hey, there's somebody on level 2A that just doesn't look right, so white male with the so-and-so, and he's just hanging around the cars. Let us know that, and we'll have an officer en route.
Down at Virginia Tech, this is a resource that a lot of folks don't know about. And I know there are folks in this room and folks all throughout this campus. You travel back and forth on a frequent basis. But down there we have the threat assessment team. We're very fortunate that Wendell Flincham, the former chief that retired before I became the chief, recruited one of the nation's leading experts in threat assessment and threat management. His name is Dr. Gene Dysinger. He became the deputy chief of police at Virginia Tech. We used to tease him. He's a PhD psychologist. So we used to tell people he's your worst nightmare. He's a shrink with a badge and a gun. But after he arrests you, he will sit with you and say, well, how did it feel to be arrested? Are you okay? But at any rate, Gene set up this process. It's one of the best processes we believe in the Commonwealth and across the country. So if you are visiting, coming to our campus frequently, or whatever the case might be, please use this. If you have colleagues that are going through crisis, or students that are going through crisis that you think somebody needs to know about, this is all confidential information. We do not share it with the public, so it's all kept very confidential. But it's important because on the threat assessment team, we have a lot of resources available to us that we can bring to that case to maybe help that person through whatever rough patch they're going through in their life, to get them the proper care that they might need. Okay? And that includes folks in your personal life as well. Because again, Steve and I, we never know when something going on in your personal life is going to come on campus. So if you're having issues with somebody outside of your workplace, let us know that too, because they may come here or may come to our campus, and then we have to deal with it. The most important thing up here is this may be nothing but. All right, Steve and I both want you to understand, we never ever want you to hesitate to call any of us, our departments, if there's something going on. We don't want you to think, well, they're going to think I'm silly, or they're going to think I'm wasting their time. We don't think that at all. Both of our departments, we take this stuff very, very seriously. And so we want to hear from you, because you just never know. Maybe you're the second or third person telling us about a situation. Now this is serious. So never, ever think you're wasting law enforcement time by calling us. Please give us a call.
So a little bit about emergency kits. If we have the shelter in place, the secure in place, it can go on for several hours. And during that time, we're not going to come feed you. And if you think that, well, I'll just call Jimmy John's or any other takeout and they'll deliver, we're not going to allow them to deliver as well. It has been tried. It may actually have occurred successfully once or twice, but we really don't want that to happen. So think about having a kit. Think about having a kit in your office, or perhaps if you travel a lot, something in your car. I used to have this little 6 volt 1964 Volkswagen. I used to go back to 4th and Main for it, and I spent more than one occasion broken down on the side of the road, and wished I had had a kit at that time when I was in college. So think about those resources that you might need. We talk to the students a lot all the time about just having a water bottle and a snack within their backpack. So if we have to secure a shelter for several hours, you have those resources. There's a lot of information on our webpage on how to build these, so feel free to take a look and get some additional information there as well.
Now some shameless plugs from our sponsors. We can do a lot of great things for you between our two departments. All you have to do is reach out and ask. Ladies, the Rape Aggression Defense is for you. Both Carilion and the Virginia Tech Police Department offer these classes. There's some basic self-defensive tactics that we will teach you. There's classroom work as well as actual hands-on. These are skills that we hope you never have to use in your life, but they're good skills to have. And at the very least, You get to hit, kick, punch, or slap a police officer during the training, and you won't get arrested. We put on the big Michelin Man suit, and they just wail on us. I'll tell you, we just did a class at Virginia Tech. It was a women's volleyball team. I went for the last night and observed the hands-on stuff. 2 of my guys came away with bruises. I mean, these ladies were just wailing on these guys, and it was great. And what really fascinated me was while they're wailing on them, the rest of the team are standing there screaming, "Kick his butt, kick his butt." And I was like, man, I need to get out of here. But we can do a lot of things for you between our 2 departments. Just call and ask, and we'll be glad to set it up for you.
And just as well, emergency management offers a lot of training. One of the classes that's most popular is our campus community emergency response team training. We talk a lot about individual skills, but we also talk about how you can support your community, and whether that community is Virginia Tech, Carilion, or the area that you live in. I think their final, the class is going on right now. Their final is this week. They're actually going to simulate an incident, an earthquake at Lane Stadium, and they'll do several recovery responses there, as well as first aid and some other things. It's one thing we do. We really stress first aid in that. Everybody who takes the class gets their basic first aid, gets their CPR card, and gets that training as well. And the reason we do that is all of us at some point are going to need that. Is that we're going to come across some sort of incident that requires some basic first aid training. So we want as many people in our community to have that training as possible. And again, we'll offer special courses if there's an interest by a group that's something they would like to see brought to campus. Either our office or the police department will make sure that that course is made available as well.
And just again, another little advertisement for our side of the fence. As you can see, we have a dispatch center. In that dispatch center, we have in the downtown, what we call CMC area, including this campus, we have over 500 video cameras that are on at all time. So, ladies and gentlemen, Big Brother is watching. So be careful when you're out there and you're doing things that you wouldn't want somebody else to see you do, because we're all watching. And that's for your protection, and it is being, all of these cameras are on motion sensor, which means anytime something moves, which starts recording, and we can go back and use that to both protect and to solve crimes and such that we have. Also, we have we run over 50,000 calls a year on a small department like us, which is a lot. But we are there for you. Our system is set up to where we are here simply to provide you either a safe, working, or learning environment, and that's what we're here for. And without that, you can't have a hospital, you can't have a school, and just like Virginia Tech Police, their job is to make sure that you have they have a safe learning environment there, and then for the staff, a safe working environment. So that's what we do. Anything we can do to help you, we're there for it.
So this is essentially how you can get in contact with us. So we both use social media, and Chief, they didn't get yours on, I don't see it, so I apologize for that. Because you have a Facebook page as well?
Yes, we have a Facebook page, and we do use it to place, we like to, every week we'll go in and update any kind of crime stats that might be occurring, not just on the campus, because we know that you don't, here you don't live on the campus. However, we know that you live usually in the surrounding area, so we list anything that might have happened, anything that we feel that you should know about will be on that Facebook page.
At the Virginia Tech Police Department, we also have a Facebook page, and like Steve's page, we post some things on there about safety and security, but we also post some human interest things and some lighthearted things just to keep it nice and mixed up. I will tell you, I'm very proud to say that the Virginia Tech Police Department is the second most liked university police department on Facebook in the country. We are number 2 behind the University of Texas at Austin. They cheat every year and they pass us after orientation, but we are always neck and neck with UT. But so like us on Facebook, and Mike's office also on Facebook. He needs some help.
Yes. Our following is a little smaller than the police department, so if you have to make a choice, choose us first.
Nothing. Nothing.
Questions? Anything we didn't cover that you might be interested in? Anything you'd like further information about?
Thank you. This is more with the Carilion campus, but our understanding is that Franklin Road is going, the bridge is going to close next year. Already we have more and more people that are using a cut through to the campus, and I'm wondering if you're going to be doing anything to slow down
You're right. We will, as part of our plan, we are putting together a plan to address that on our campuses, which will include more enforcement and more officers being posted here, especially during evenings and mornings, especially when the traffic's picking up. We are working with the city too to work on traffic control here to better enhance and set the lights up to where it's going to move traffic a lot faster. They are going to close Franklin Road. It'll be down for about a year and a half, and everything will be coming up Franklin will be turned down Reserve, then up Jefferson Street. So it will be hectic early in the morning. But we are putting together an action plan to address just what you mentioned.
Yeah, speed bumps or something would slow it down because there's a number of us that go back and forth.
Well, our people we do issue reckless driving tickets on private property based on action. So usually when we start pulling some people over and writing some tickets on our campus, that kind of gets spread around very quickly when they see them getting tickets for what they're doing. But we do that. Failing to yield to pedestrians and such, we can take care of all that.
Well, thank you very much. We
Thank you.
appreciate you giving us the time today.